The world called it the journey to greener pastures. But those who boarded the small rubber boat on the coast of Morocco that moonless night knew another name for it, a final gamble with life. 22 migrants, men and women from Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, Cameroon and Mali, stood silently on the cold sand near Layoun, waiting for the smugglers who promised them a path to Spain, to Europe, to work, to a future. Among them was Ibrahim Musa, 27, a mechanic from Kano whose mother had sold her sewing machine to fund the trip. Amina, a 19-year-old Ghanaian whose dream was to become a nurse. Samuel, father of 3, escaping joblessness in Sierra Leone. None of them were criminals, just believers in hope. The smugglers arrived close to 2:45 a.m., a group of 5 masked men, armed and impatient. The deal was simple: $3,000 for a seat on the small inflatable boat. But what they didn't say was more important. The boat was built for 10 people, not 22. There were no life jackets, no backup engine, and the weather forecast predicted rising waves before dawn. The first lie of the night. They were told the journey to Spain would take just 5 hours. They were told the sea was calm. They were told they had nothing to fear. Barely 2 hours offshore, the engine coughed. At first, no one panicked. They had faith in the journey. But then the waves started rising, slamming the boat like a hammer. "Ibrahim, are we close?" Amina asked, gripping his arm. He didn't answer. He just stared into the darkness. A darkness so deep the horizon disappeared. Soon, water began splashing into the boat. Some used plastic containers to scoop it out. Others prayed loudly. The children cried. The 2 smugglers on board, supposed guides, suddenly picked up a satellite phone and argued in Arabic. Then, without warning, one of them jumped into the sea, revealing a hidden jet ski tethered behind the boat. The other followed. They abandoned them, 22 human beings, alone, at the mercy of the Atlantic. Panic exploded. The boat spun sideways with each pounding wave, its sides cracking, air escaping. The engine completely died. The boat flipped once, then again, and then torn by a massive wave. Screams filled the darkness. Some held on to each other. Some tried to swim. Amina begged God for another chance. Samuel cried his children's names. Ibrahim tried to help 2 others cling to broken pieces of the boat. But the ocean was stronger than all of them. There were no cameras, no witnesses, no rescue boats, just the roaring sea, swallowing 22 dreams. 3 days later, fishermen in Spain spotted scattered bodies drifting in the waves. Some were unrecognizable, some still holding hands. Passport lay soaked inside a torn backpack, Ibrahim's. Only 2 survivors were found, clinging to a piece of the collapsed boat. Dehydrated, traumatized, barely alive. They identified the smugglers and told everything. Authorities later discovered that the smuggling gang had organized over 15 deadly crossings in 6 months, collecting thousands of dollars from desperate migrants, then abandoning them mid-sea to die. It wasn't migration. It wasn't an accident. It was murder for profit. HT1. Back in Africa, families waited by the phone, expecting news of a safe arrival. Instead, what arrived were nightmares, rumors, death lists, and silence. Some mothers still believe their children reached Spain and just haven't called. Some keep their rooms untouched, waiting. Hope doesn't die easily, even when reality already has. Not every search for greener pastures leads to a better life. For some, it leads to the sea, and the sea never forgets, but it never forgives. HT1.